Alright, welcome to Velocity Performance. Today I'm going to go over a car we just got done putting together for a customer. This is a 2006 Acura RSX. It is a automatic K20A3 car, your standard RSX, and we have put a custom turbo kit on it. The customer provided pretty many parts for this build, but it still needed some fabrication to get everything to work. It's got a T3, T4 turbo by Amuso. And most of those parts, most of the parts on here are from that same brand. Turbo's there. We've got a 2-inch downpipe, and then he has a 2-inch catback exhaust. It still retains the factory catalytic converter, so we've got to keep that in mind when tuning it. It's got 2-inch intercooler piping throughout the whole thing, and it's got a massive front mount intercooler. Really doesn't need that big of an intercooler at this point, but that's what the customer provided. We actually had to do some extensive work on this to make this work. It was normally a cross-flow intercooler, but we've utilized the outlet as a blow-off valve mounting point, and then we have fabricated a plate that goes in here that actually blocks this part off from this part. So air goes in this way and blow off valve at the end, and then comes back and around, and then this part goes to the actual intake. So all that had to be welded up. We just couldn't get a good routing on the intercooler piping through the fender well here. There is some room, but it kept, no matter what we did, it still kept hitting the wheel. We were trying to make it go from this way through there and then out to the front, but like I said, it just it didn't work. This was the best way to make what we had work for this project, so should work just fine for his goals. It's actually a pretty sick looking setup. Just barely fits behind that front bumper. We did have to remove the left fog light to make some room for those intercooler piping. It's running, what brand injectors? Just unknown 550cc injectors, so that should be plenty for this build. And it's also a unknown Walberlow 255 fuel pump, so it's got plenty of fuel. And we had to relocate the battery tray, so we've got a custom battery tray made there to hold the battery in place. So alright, let's get under the car and I'll show you the rest of it. Alright, so we're underneath the car. Intercooler piping goes over and up through there. Definitely a tight fit, but it fits. And then in the back here we have the turbo feed return right there. It comes down and clears the screamer pipe and the down pipe, and you can see the oil pressure line for the turbo for the feed. And there's also a boost pressure source back there for the wastegate. So there's a lot of things back there, but it all tucks up in there very nicely, so it should all be safe and clear from hot stuff, so it should be good. And then, like I said, it's got a full exhaust with a cat, so it's a little bit smaller of an exhaust than I've tuned on these cars before, but should still be able to make plenty of power. So this is a little bit different than what we normally do on this channel. We haven't dealt with a whole lot of Honda stuff yet, but we got the opportunity to do this, so we're going to give it a shot. Got a wastegate in here. Blow-off valve, it's just like a Grady Type S, I believe. A few other parts. Turbo. It's a T3, T4 turbo. We have a 2-inch down, or 2.5-inch downpipe here, and a cast manifold in here. It's actually a pretty impressive, pretty beefy cast manifold. So should be a pretty fun job. So oil lines. I believe we've got 550cc injectors for this in this box. So we're going to start doing this project. Once the turbo's been installed, we're going to hook them up to the dynos and start tuning. Alright, so here's a quick little update on the turbo build. We took the bumper off. It's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. There's a couple clips on the fender sides and then on the bottom and on the top. There's a bunch of good videos out there on how to remove the bumper. We had to remove the crash bar because the intercooler that the customer provided is quite large, and it was not, we weren't able to modify the crash bar to accommodate for the larger intercooler. So it had to go, and then to make some room for it. So we got that out. Now we gotta get this intercooler up and try to figure out where we're going to place the piping and everything. All right, it's time for another little update. It's time for another update on the turbo install. We have the manifold installed. We have the turbo here. We test fitted the downpipe. It clears. We figured out how to set up the cold side and the CHRA, so got all that figured out. We've got a tube here for the turbo outlet. We need to trim it. Front bumper's off still, and the intercooler's here. So we're getting the turbo stuff done first, and then once the turbo is figured out, we will move on to the intercooler piping. Teflon tape. Spring for the wastegate's been installed already before the wastegate on. Should be a 6-pound spring. That's about what we're going to be running, we think. But that's a small spring we are going to run. Downpipe has got a bung welded onto it. We're going to use that for the dyno while tuning. So she's coming together pretty well. Pretty excited. This is actually a really cool car as far as a build. So, all right, let's get this turbo on. Good morning, sunshine. All right, so the oil line has been set up. So it goes up to the top of the turbo. The little rubber insulators that keep it from rubbing out on the AC and the coolant hose, and then it goes down and around to the back side here, right there. Stay away from all the hot stuff. Pretty good. I have got everything done on the bottom side of this. We have the turbo return drain installed. We welded that in. You can see the turbo drain all the way up there. But the downpipe's installed with the exhaust. The screamer pipe's installed. The turbo return oil line's installed. The turbo feed line you can see is up there. And we've got the wastegate right there. So it's kind of tucked up in there. Yeah, so I think everything's done on the bottom side. So we're going to get back to the intercooler stuff and get that installed. So should be fun. Alright, we got the injector swapped out. They're STI blue 565 injectors. They actually flow a little bit more than that on this setup. And basically we've swapped out the connector with the original Honda one. So if you depin this, you can put the Subaru connector on the end of this. It's the same type of connector, just a different housing. So that's pretty cool. So she's idling, ready to make more boost. Yes, this is my backup data logger. Control 3. Yes, I'm gonna do that too. Oh, we'll just do that now. we were seeing on the dyno, but it's